What is up, you guys? It's your girl Yinsu here, back again with another episode of a Showstopper. Of course, as always, joining me this week is my co-host from North America, Tyler.
Thank you, Yinsu. And today we have a very special guest. In the wise words of American thespian DMX, X gonna give it to ya. And today we have the man with a plan on XSET, dephh, coming to us just after qualifying for the Berlin main event qualifiers. How you doing, buddy?
Not bad, actually. Qualifying for the qualifier. I know these. I haven't actually got this far before, so I didn't realize how confusing they are up to this point. It's like qualifier for an extra qualifier. So yeah, excited to be here.
The format, we'll get onto the format because I do have a couple of questions to ask you about it. Like you said, the qualifying to a playoff, and then in the playoff, that's when you qualify for the real thing. But yeah, it's great to have you here. As always, we're going to kick off with our roast, our tier list segment. Now, I know you're a football fan, dephh. I've seen you support the boys, England, that is. It didn't come home. It's okay. We won't talk about that. I banned Tyler from talking about it. Not allowed. Yeah. You weren't even in the Euros. Your opinion is invalid. No. Because Tyler loves shitting on England. So, but yeah.
I think it was going my third map against Sentinels, our third map. That was when it was the penalties. So I was watching the penalties between maps. So that was like, I knew when we got to penalties, like this could break me right now. So,
oh no.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how you could have done that. I think I would have just turned everything off and just pretended.
I had to know. I feel like if they won the penalties, I would have just been so pumped to win the whole thing.
What, do you think that affected your performance at all? Like,
no, I don't think so. It definitely tilted me a little bit, but we have to just manage.
The mind games. You know, Sentinels they scripted it as usual, as always. But yes, so with the roast tier list, because we know you are a fan, you watch the Euros, we are going to rank the home kits, just the home kits of the top 8 teams. So the 8 teams are made it past the quarterfinals with their home kits. Hopefully this is where our editor, we're going to bring up all the kits so you guys can see it nice and enlarged. But the tiers we've gone for is elite. I would wear that. So something that's so nice that you'd personally wear. Good, not bad, but could be better. Indifferent, and just straight up bin it. So the first tier list you're seeing, dephh, is mine. What do you make of my tier list? Anything that jumps out at you that's a crime, you feel?
I would honestly, I quite like the tier list.
Hey!
Obviously, England being in S tier is pretty important. Elite, that's definitely elite. But I actually have always loved the Italian kits.
Yes.
So it's probably one of the only ones I disagree with, maybe. There's a lot of red. There was a lot of red this year. Yeah, a lot of red this year, so... Yeah. I think the standout obviously is England here.
I feel like everybody just went for red for some reason this year. Maybe it's just all the teams are qualified. But I think for me, I like the Italian kit too, but I wasn't sure about this particular version of it because there's a couple in the past. But iconic. There's a couple in the past that I would say it's more iconic that I really love. I think, let me just scroll to the enlarged. Yeah, I didn't like the pattern, but that was
I love the pattern. Oh, I love the pattern.
Okay.
It was like kind of like Italian. What's the word for it? They're very into clothing, aren't they? So like it's kind of their touch on there. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But would you bin Ukraine in the way that I binned, or do you feel like that was a bit harsh there?
The yellow kit here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of yellow in general. It's one of my least favorite colors. So yeah, definitely trash it. If I had my way, I'd just put England in elite and the rest just bin it. Why not?
Well, we're going to get onto that. We're going to make your own. I think this is the first time, Tyler, that we've had a guest on the show that
you like your tier list.
Yeah, that doesn't think I'm trash.
Who thought your tier list was acceptable?
Yeah, I guess like all the reds in there in the middle, not bad, could be better. Kind of fits there just because they all kind of look the same.
Yeah, but what do you think of the Czech Republic kit that I put so high? I feel like that's the best red one. That's why I put it so high, because I would actually wear that. I think that looks a little bit like England's away red kit for me. Like it's quite similar design. Yeah.
No. It's like sleek.
Look at the dark red on the it looks like you sweat. Like it looks like a sweat stain. Like you're always gonna look like
you mean the collar?
Yeah, the collar is darker, so it looks like you sweat. Like you look like you. Like if you're,
I don't know, man.
Look at that. Now it's in your head, right? Now if you go out, it's like you look like you sweated through your shirt.
Fantastic.
Now, it's over.
I wish the kits had the pop collars again.
Oh yeah.
Like I wish someone did like a really retro kit. I think it would sell like crazy actually.
Right.
This is the beauty of a list. So obviously, number one, the champions of Europe, the champions of the European Football Federation, Italy, the iconic gold, lettering on the back. Like it's an iconic kit. Ukraine, you have a little spice in your life, guys. Have a little bit of spice. Look at all this red and blue and white. I
know that. Yeah. I know Def is going to have a problem with the obviously, like, why the hell is England not in the God tier? But also, Def, he thinks that that's the same level as the yellow kit.
No. The Belgian kit too was awful this year.
No, look at the Belgian kit. It's a beauty.
It's awful. It looks like it looks like someone drove a truck over that shit.
Yeah. It's called fashion. That's but like when I watch Ukraine play in their yellow jerseys versus who they played. They played Sweden in the round of 16. It was yellow versus blue. I like to see color. I like to see a pop of color. I don't want to see white. I don't want to see Blair red. Like
it does look like a Brazilian kit, though.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
That's true.
It kind of looks like a direct rip-off.
Here's the thing, Def, though. If you're poor and you don't have enough money to get a Brazilian kit because those are expensive because Brazil's popular, you buy a Ukrainian jersey and you just you can just act like it's a Brazil jersey.
You get a Ukrainian kit and you put Neymar on the back.
Yeah, exactly. Probably that's probably 50% off right there because no one probably like the Ukrainian jersey. No one's buying that over the Brazilian jersey. So you just put Neymar on the back. You rock the Ukrainian jersey. No one knows the wiser. So
there is a reason why nobody is buying the Ukrainian one, Tyler. There's a reason for that.
But I think
it's a hate crime. I think it's a hate crime that you put England on the same level as Ukraine. That's just ridiculous.
I'm sorry. I just can't put. I think England would be the top of my good tier, but I can't put it in the same tier as the Italian jersey. England and Italy just aren't on the same levels. I mean, they're close, but it just feels like Italy has a tiny edge.
It's very American stance, especially when they're not in the Euros too. England got some shit. England got so much shit this year, like especially on social media. It's like everyone's against England, so that's why I'm kind of.
Just wait till next year when everyone. I mean, if America can even make the World Cup, I don't even want to say we're going to be in the World Cup. We didn't make.
Are you really going to shit talk here about how your football team?
Last time the United States and England played in the World Cup, it was a 1-1 tie. So. Don't get too scared. Don't get too pompous. Like America's out there. We're grown. We got Christian Pulisic.
Yeah, your best player plays in England. Your best player plays in the Premier League.
Sorry, when was the last World Cup with the US? It was like
2014. It was 2014.
Yeah, that was a decent year.
We lost.
You get knocked out to Belgium.
Yeah, we lost to Belgium because Wondolowski couldn't score from 2 feet away.
Yeah. I was supporting the US in a bar in Spain with a bunch of Belgian people in it. So me and my brother were screaming USA.
USA.
Is that who's your second team then, Def? Like, obviously England one and only, but which country would you back after that if you had to?
I mean. I don't really like how the Italians play. I think they're pretty greasy. They foul and they pull and they're really defensive if they have a goal. But I'd say in terms of skill, obviously the Italians are pretty unmatched in the Euros for sure.
Good choice. Well, we're going to get you to build your own tier list now. You've seen both me and Tyler's. So should we start with the Binet category? Or actually, let's start from top down because we know what you're going to put in Elite. I think that might be easier. So Elite, you'd wear it. Which kit's going there?
I think I'd go for both the Italian and the English kit. Because I think England is so clean. Like, look how clean this kit is. And like with a bit of grass stains on there, like it's such a nice kit. I just love it. So yeah, I definitely an elite, the Italian and the English kit for sure.
What about good? You don't have to put them in any categories if you don't want. If you feel like everything else is rubbish, up to you.
I think for sure Belgium is going in bin it. So I think it's one of the worst kits I've seen in a while from the Euros.
Yeah.
But for good, I might just skip good.
Oh, leaving a gap between the elite and the rest of them.
I think so. I think there's a sure gap there.
Mm-hmm. What about not bad but could be better? I love how we don't even talk about Switzerland and Spain. Like I
actually like the Swiss kit is pretty nice, but I think it's just a little clump to the top there. If they just had 2 logos instead of the 3, I think it would be pretty nice. The Spanish kit is obviously just kind of plain.
So boring. So
yeah, I've definitely seen nicer kits from them before. So I think they go in that category. So like the Swiss, Spanish one. Who else we got here?
Czech Republic.
Czech Republic, kind of bland again. Maybe even indifferent on that one.
Okay, I guess the only one that you haven't listed is Ukraine. If you're
Ukraine,
Belgium.
I think I've been the Ukraine one too. It doesn't like scream Ukraine, to me. I don't know what does, like when I think about Ukraine, but it looks like a Brazilian kit. But like Fionn was saying, it's nice to have a pop of color, especially if like you have contrasting colors on the pitch. It's really nice. You don't want a bunch of reds and like contrasting colors. So yeah, I would. The Belgian kit for me is definitely the worst one there. So I don't know how you had them in good.
I mean, I just like Belgium. I like Belgium. And to be fair, they do have they have a really nice like flag. They have a lot of good colors to pick from, and they picked black and red.
Yeah, that's true actually.
Like they have one of the nicest flags. So yeah, they should probably step their game up.
I wouldn't,
for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't bin it, but I'm with you. I think it's very not even close to the level of England. Like that's the one I'm upset about. I'm just upset you think the Belgium and Ukraine kit is the same niceness.
Maybe I did that just to tilt you guys.
Yeah,
that's my entire plan.
I think that's what you did.
Maybe I just put 2 of the worst jerseys up there with England just to enter you guys. I mean, I'm not saying I did. I always take these tier lists super seriously.
It is very on brand.
A scientific, ranking. But maybe I just did that to piss some people off. So
I think so.
It's very on brand of you. But yeah, that is our tier list. So we're going to move on to the second segment. Now, of course, Tyler mentioned in the intro, you guys have just secured a spot in the playoffs. Challengers 1, super exciting. The first tournament after Masters 2. So we had a few questions to ask you about the tournament. I'm going to open up with the first one. Who, in your opinion, was the toughest opponent you went up against and why?
I don't want to be too boring. Obviously, Sentinels they are the best team in the world still, I believe. They're very tough. Every time we play them, they have different looks. It's actually weird because if I go to review Sentinels, they never really do the same thing they did the match previous. So like you can tell they're talking a lot. They default really well. Their info game is one of the best in the world right now. But apart from Sentinels, I think Rise actually proved to be really annoying. Just they're pretty random. They're always together grouped. They play pretty fast. And like, especially if you're expecting or you play teams that play slower and then you come across a Rise and they just kind of come at you. I think they can really throw a spanner in the works. So definitely Sentinels first, and then Rise really gave us some trouble with this tournament.
Kind of springboarding off that. So Rise were kind of the sneaky, tough team. Which opposing player, non-Sentinels, because obviously you could probably name the entire Sentinels lineup and say they were the best players you played against. But which opposing player gave you the most problems, non-Sentinels?
I think Shanks is really annoying. I got to play with him. I got to play with him at the start, towards the beta, and especially like early dig. He's like one of those guys that can just pop off. Sometimes he's like not there, and then other times he's just so annoying. Some of the stuff he does. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and if he's on point and he's confident, you can tell it and you can kind of feel it. And yeah, so he definitely is a pain in the ass sometimes. Good player, especially on Jet. He's just hyper annoying. aggressive.
I love how annoying is the word you guys use.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Now, going into this stage, obviously it being a bit of a reset, from everything that happened at LAN, I guess the fans and also analysts wasn't quite sure exactly what to expect from the teams, from you guys as well, the way that you guys came into this tournament. So what was your personal takeaway? What was the one thing I guess you learned from this tournament?
I think this tournament, especially for our team, we kind of built this confidence now that these teams aren't untouchable, especially the ones with the bigger names. I think gaining that confidence, this was perfect for us because we're obviously a newer team. I didn't zekken in pretty late. We had like 3 or 4 days practice with him before going into this event. But given the players the confidence, knowing that we can go toe to toe with some of these teams is really important for us moving forward. And I think, go ahead.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
I was just going to say, I think it's really important to get, especially a best of 5. Our map pool's not deep enough right now for a best of 5. And I think we'll handle best of 3s way easier, right now at least. We can study in between maps and stuff, but yeah. Sentinels are going to be the team to beat still, I think. And they're going to make it through, obviously. We're just going to try and get them other 2 spots and make it there with them.
I guess you guys obviously had, sorry, Tyler, you guys obviously had like certain expectations going into this. So were you surprised like how far you made it? Because obviously you made it literally as far as a team could.
I think as the tournament went along and we got these certain results, like our confidence was building, we're playing more and more confident, obviously. But I don't think we were like expecting much. We kind of just went in there free flowing, kind of trying to enjoy ourselves. Especially with zekken, like he's such a young kid. He needs time, obviously. He's already a beast. Like he's going to be one of the next best players, I think. So we're just trying to slowly bring this guy in and just build up our repertoire and really take it against the better teams in NA.
Through the qualifier, you played many matches, many series, many games on games as the qualifiers, especially when you get to the finals. Which series is going to stick out to the mind of you? Obviously, it's just a step towards the main event qualifier to the actual main event of Berlin. But if there's one series that you're going to be, reminded of in the future, what was the most memorable series from this qualifier?
I think the Sentinels 2-1, just because looking back at the games, I think on Haven we lost only 1 gun round. And then on the third map, I forgot what it was now. I think it was Split. We also lost only 2 gun rounds. So like our gun round percentage is really, really good. And I think that's really important. We didn't have enough time to come up with the pistols and have effective like anti-eco strats. So just seeing that we have really good, strong gun rounds is really important moving forward. Just because pistols counts for so much in this game. It's like short amount of rounds compared to CS. You have to really take advantage of the moments. And I think in the best of 5, even with Sentinels, they were just a little more clutch in the moments that we should have been winning some of them rounds. And if some of the clutches went different ways, I think the result would have been different.
Well, pretty much like no one has beaten Sentinels except for you guys. So
since April. It was their first loss since April. So
this is a bit of a cheeky question, but what was the secret? Like, what do you think was the thing that did it? Because they're obviously, before this, everyone just thought no one's going to beat this team. This team is just quite literally unbeatable. So why do you think that you guys were the ones that were able to take them down?
I just think that we're kind of free flowy like them. They don't practice too much, to be honest. We're in the practice groups. They probably scrim 3 or 4 times a week, but you can tell every single person on that team is smart and individual, and they can make plays around them. And we're kind of approaching it the same way. We don't want to be too structured. I'm seeing teams become really structured, and it's kind of a detriment, especially how random the gameplay is sometimes. Yeah. Like, you don't want to be, okay, this is what you have to do at this. Like, we want people to be able to play the game because I think that's how Valorant should be played. You should just, in the moment, you come up with things, and that, for us, has proven to be the most successful way of doing it.
Well, I guess we saw some comments throughout the qualifiers. I was so shocked by this because I never thought I'd see the day where North America players and commentators say that the EU format was better. Honestly, I think that's the only time I've ever seen anyone say that the European format was in any shape or form more elite than some of the other regions. Was there anything from this tournament, whether it was the format or the stream or anything sort of outside your gameplay that you liked or didn't like?
I think we had one of the easiest brackets, to be honest, like up to the 100 Thieves game. Like we couldn't have asked for much more in terms of the bracket. I'm not really a guy. This sounds really bad, especially as in-game leader. I don't really care about the brackets too much. I don't really care about how the tournaments ran, especially if things are going like into late night and then there's conflicting issues with that. That's a problem. But for me, I kind of just go game by game by game. I honestly don't even know what the EU how the bracket was run, to be honest. What was the differences between the EU and the NA this time around?
Yeah, so you guys had open qualifiers where it was basically like the double elimination, pretty straightforward. For EU, 8 teams bypassed the open qualifiers and they had closed qualifiers. So they were the teams that did better previously, so like Fnatic, Liquid and so on, they were just invited straight to the closed qualifiers with 16 teams. And I think every single game was streamed pretty much.
That probably makes more sense. Yeah. I think that's better. I think going through open qualifiers opens you up to the chance of losing against a team that you shouldn't do just because it happens sometimes, especially the amount of games we played from the start of the open all the way up to a best of 5 grand final. I think they could definitely do that where they bypass the teams that they know should make it through and then bring that best of 5 down to a best of 3. Because by the end of it, you're just mentally exhausted. The game, you have to talk a lot in this game, even more than CS. There's so many abilities and different things that can go wrong and right. So I think just shortening it and condensing it down would be better, especially for viewership. Like some of these games in the open qualifiers aren't even streamed, and we're seeing big teams get knocked out on the second stage, and they're not even being streamed. So these are games that the viewers obviously want to watch, and what makes Valorant exciting, especially in the early days. So yeah, I think they could definitely condense it down and make it a little more manageable.
All right, Def, we're going to put you on the spot. We've done this with a few of our player guests on the show, have them play fortune teller. Obviously, we're going to look towards the main event qualifier in a few weeks where we'll see which teams will go into the Verdi Music Hall in Berlin, Germany to represent NA at the second international tournament for Valorant. Which 3 teams, in your opinion, are going to book their flight tickets over to Berlin? You're allowed to say yourself. You got second in the first qualifier, so we'll allow you to be a bit cocky and put yourself in Berlin. So which other 2 teams are going to join XSET in Berlin?
I think we'll be looking at Sentinels, obviously, at this point, unless something crazy happens with them. I just can't see them not making it. The other team, I honestly, every time we play 100 Thieves, well, anytime I played 100 Thieves, first time with XSET, but they're very structured, a little gimmicky, but you can tell like they've got a lot of experience. They play bomb downs really well. They retake pretty good. I could see 100 Thieves making it too, but we've got so much talent now in like the top 5 or 6 teams in NA that it's really difficult to put anyone through, especially as we see Zeltis coming back into V1.
Yeah.
I think Zeltis is their hard carry, to be honest. He's like the playmaker. He's fearless, gains a lot of space for his team, and I think they just operate with him better. So we're going to see a full strength V1 come back at some point. And then, yeah, I'm honestly forgetting a lot of the teams that are in there, I'm honest.
I mean, you have FaZe, you have TSM, Luminosity. I mean,
TSM and FaZe. I think FaZe is out of meta slightly. Like they had this meta where they could get into bomb sites really easily, and that was favoring them. And TSM obviously have just so many struggles with their rosters and the direction their team wants to go. So I don't see TSM making it through, to be honest.
Oh, can't wait to take that clip if they do make it through and just spam it.
Yeah, just spam it. I'm going against TSM fans too, so we know how crazy they can be at times.
Baby literally just said like Bang was not a good player like 20 times on a stream, so you're fine. Like, TSM fans are after Baby. You're good.
Okay, I'll get away with it.
Yeah. Well, obviously, the next time we see you guys play, it's going to be a little while, but KO is going to be in play then. How do you think KO is going to change the meta going forward?
I made a tweet today. I don't know if you saw it. I said Sky over KO.
Oh.
I think it's one of those things where I don't see KO adding too much in terms of like, we might see teams become more execute heavy with his pop flashes and stuff, but I just don't see him fitting in the current meta. Like, are you going to do Sova KO? Are you going to do Sky Sova? Are you going to do KO Sky? You have 3 agents now that kind of do similar things, like Sky, Sova, and KO.
It does feel like we've seen of your young gun zekken that like Sky has become. Like it can be kind of used as like a secondary duelist, but because of the changes to her flash and how you can play around her now, that is becoming like, because everyone's like, oh yeah, KO is going to be like the secondary duelist, semi-duelist coming in. He has the, he has a flash, he has his own, kind of way to get in and be at the front of the lines. But I feel like we've seen very similar stuff out of, zekken on Sky, who I think has really proved himself during the qualifier with his Sky prowess outside of, his general duelist duties.
Yeah, definitely. He's insane on Sky, and he's only picked up Sky since he joined the team. So we're gonna see this guy like coming into a new level of Sky, to be honest. But yeah, the problem with KO, in my opinion, is that you now he has to be further back, especially with his flashes. Like you can right click through smokes, but it's very situational. But you need people up front, and I think Sky fits that role as second and third man in. Just being a nuisance with his.
Would you say KO's balanced? Like I think we've had him out now for a month or so. We've seen pro teams in Korea. We've seen him in like the Nurse Street Gamer like monthly tournament now. Some teams have been playing him obviously in scrims. Would you say that he is pretty balanced in terms of he doesn't need any tweaks to him?
Yeah, I think he's almost there. I think they've done a really good job with him. Actually, he's one of the first agents that I'd see like. I don't think there's been a single agent except Sova that really hasn't needed a change or like a very minor change. And I think the same with KO. I think he fits in nice. And I think certain teams are going to be able to use him really well and some other teams not so much. So we don't have a CS heavy background in our team. So trying to convince people that KO is the right pick and how to use his flashes is going to be important. So I think we'll just see. We have a bunch of scrims coming up with him, so we'll just get around to playing him and seeing how he does.
So on a scale of Yoru to Astra, how much do you think he's gonna kind of be played and be involved in the meta?
I think you'll see him on the smaller maps. I don't think like picking him into Breeze, for example, is good, or Icebox really, just because huge open space, the knife has less impact on a larger map. He's obviously has a radius too, but I can see him being used on like choke point maps like Bind or Haven or anything that you need to get out of sight pretty fast. Ascent, for example. He's an info guy, he's a flasher, and he's always really good for entering bomb sites, obviously. So.
All right. Well, I can't wait to see which teams do pick him up and see if he will even have any impact on the meta. But that brings us to the last segment here, the cooldown segment. So this is going to be more about you. We're going to ask you a few questions. Now, I'm going to start with, obviously, you're a very experienced player. You've been a well-known IGL for a while, in Counter-Strike 2. I do feel like at the moment, we're seeing the way the roster shuffles have worked, especially in Europe. There's a lot of questions when it comes to the motivations of the more seasoned players. People think like, oh, this guy has won loads of stuff in Counter-Strike. Does he care about what's going on in Valorant? Does that affect his performance and so on? So I just wanted to ask you, as someone who has been around for a while and as someone who also played Counter-Strike, where do you find the motivation? And do you think this is a bit different to what your career was like before?
Yeah, I think the biggest change for me personally is that I've come from a game that has a pretty fixed meta for a long time. But as I played Valorant more and more, I've kind of fell in love with the strategy behind different metas, and the team has to keep up with certain metas. Like, I think we've seen teams slip out of them, like not being able to catch up. Maybe people aren't learning the agents they need to learn. I think eventually we're going to see players playing 3 to 4 agents at least. And these one trick kind of players kind of fading away, because as the meta evolves and there's more agents and more maps, I think that diversity of being able to play different comps is going to be really important. Sometimes we'll play a comp on a certain map and think, wow, this is our comp, this is what we're going to use. And we'll go against another team and be like, okay, this just isn't working how we want it to against this certain comp. So I think you can't really compare CS and Valorant just because how the meta changes. It's like if League of Legends and CS had a baby. That's kind of how it feels.
I love that, yeah.
Yeah, I just really enjoy Valorant. It's really fun. You definitely, the older I get, the more I have to play, obviously. And CS was kind of catching up on me a little bit with how the young guns are coming in and they just kind of destroy. The skill gap there was just widening.
It's actually been quite interesting that I've kind of seen this, because I feel like a year ago, like when we were like a few months into Valorant, like 4 or 5 months in, I would talk to a lot of these CS guys who switched over, and CS women as well. And I would talk to them and I'd be like, do you like Valorant? And they'd be like, yeah, I like it. And a lot of them would be like, I still love CS more. I still love Counter-Strike. I'm here, I'm here because of the opportunity. But it feels as we've gone along the year, a lot of people who were, like, oh yeah, I like Valorant, I love CS, they've really changed their tune. I think Riot's ability to update the game every month, and everything feels new, right? You have new characters, new agents, new maps, new skins, every 2 to 3 weeks you have something new to kind of look forward to in Valorant. And I feel like that's really, really like brightened a lot of people's like kind of attitudes coming over from CS. I'm sure there's still a lot of former CS players in Valorant who, if given a $1 million contract between Valorant and CS, would go back to CS in a second and say, I'm done with this anime shooter game. But I do feel like Riot has won over a lot of the hearts from these, the CS and the, even, your team is very, as you said, they're not Counter-Strike background. A lot of them Crossfire, stuff like that. And they've kind of turned over and kind of seen the light from Riot as well. So it does seem like Riot's done a really good job to make things fun and interesting and change up the game where it doesn't feel stagnant.
Oh, 100%. And I think like the players that hearts aren't really in it are being exposed a little bit. And people know that. It's like, if you're not putting in the hours, and not just scrims, like scrimming's not enough anymore. You have people playing all day, every single day. And like, to be at tier 1 level, you have to match it. Like, it doesn't matter how much you love CS, you're playing this new game, you're on the new team. And people are reverting back to their old like CS ego mindsets. And it's really difficult to swallow sometimes. I just think like, you're playing a new game, the developer is kicking. The developers are owning it. I think personally, like you said, everything's fresh, everything's new. The meta is changing. If there's a problem, they fix it within an hour. Sometimes, like they're just on top of their shit. Why would you go back to a game that it doesn't feel like sometimes the developer even gives a shit?
Well, they don't care about the esports scene, and that's for sure.
Yeah.
Allegedly, Tyler. Come on, we don't want to get
allegedly.
Just in case.
We talked a little about a year ago and kind of the transition. Let's talk about a team that I really liked that was at kind of the beginning of the Valorant NA push was Dignitas. I thought that was a team that still had a lot of potential on it, and I think Dignitas pulled out kind of a Valorant outside of the women's team, of course, but they pulled from the men's side. How tough it was to kind of deal with, Dignitas's end and just everything around that team, because it felt like that team had so much potential around it and it could have been such a powerhouse. And we've seen players from that team, people now on Rise, obviously you excelling. We're seeing the players who were on Dignitas be some of the top players currently in the NA scene, and it seems like they kind of wasted opportunity. So how hard was that?
Yeah, I honestly don't want to throw people under the bus too much, but I think at Dignitas, I didn't really get the control that I wanted. It was kind of a dynamic of management and SOM, and there was this whole... I just never felt like we got to control the team how we wanted to, especially even with changes. Dignitas I mean, it's costly now. Like if you want certain players, then you have to pay the buyouts and you have to pay the salaries. And it's kind of like the bigger teams and the bigger orgs will just sniff that out and then come after your best players. And that's kind of how it always is. And it's really hard to be that strong, united team when other players are being talked to and like the in-game leader really doesn't have full control over the team. So in my opinion, that's what happened with Dignitas. That's obviously just my opinion, but I feel like the players, we had everything there. It just didn't click for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, as Tyler, I think Tyler summed it up perfectly. For us, like fans and people in the scene, it was super sad, obviously. But it's good to see, like Tyler said as well, some of you guys kind of stay in the scene and move on and are still competing to even greater heights, like yourself, actually. Now, I'm going to bring out my EU bias here because I have to. You spent a lot of time in North America. We kind of miss you. We've got, I'd say, a handful of solid IGLs right now, a couple here and there, still in the game. Would you ever consider coming back to Europe if it was like not gonna affect your personal life and family life and so on? Just to compete in Europe, and also, what do you make of the European scene? Also,
so this is funny that you asked this, but during my time on Dignitas and then towards the end when they released the team, I got a message from G2 asking if I wanted to come back and play for a bit.
You should
so I had the opportunity, but it's just now like my life is based over here. I obviously miss my family and it's really important that I go home and see them, but I have a wife here now. And definitely like North America is my home base. Like I have a green card and all these things. So I could see myself living back in Europe in the future, but I'll probably be past my prime, or
never.
Definitely in terms of a player capacity, I think it'll be over by the time I get back to Europe. But I'm really excited about the European scene. I think they definitely need some of them CS players to kind of creep across, and I think that's when we're really going to see EU kind of excelling, and also. I think we're waiting for that meta that's really structured, because every time I watch an EU team, it seems like they have it. Like they're just there, but they're just missing that tiny bit of creativity that the NA teams sometimes show. A bit of randomness, a bit of the jets going off and doing certain fast executes. EU teams are very slow. They plot around the map. They're very like precise in the way they play. So it's either a meta change or some of the new players coming across and really taking that space.
Let's talk about those new players real quick whilst we have you here, because obviously you've played against pretty much all of them. MBK, he made the switch. I think that was he's probably the biggest name in Europe, at least to date, that has made that switch. And we're hearing whispers of like maybe Kiabi is going to move over, or maybe a couple of the other Danish players. Do you feel like you can see MBK being a big success in Valorant?
I think so. I think MBK needs a role where he controls a team. I've heard things about MBK before. Definitely one of the best players in CS at a certain time. Just really good player. But I've also heard things about his personality at times, that he likes to be in control and likes to have a huge say on the team. So he's going to build up his experience, obviously, playing Valorant. You can't just switch and then beat guys that have been playing for the entire year. I don't think that's possible. He just needs to take his time in the way that he kind of moves into the Valorant space. And KJB, like, he'll be insane. Like, he's still young.
I think so too.
It's just time. Like, they need time.
All right, final question for you, Deph. Before I let you go, I know you have scrims coming up.
Yeah, I might be slightly late.
We'll try to get you out here really fast. So the three of us all here, we're all pretty old. We're all in our mid to upper 20s. We got the experience on our side, and the one really interesting thing about XSET is that they had a really good core, and they brought in you, a leader in IGL, someone with chock full experience to lead them, and they brought in a 16-year-old kid, Zekken, who is, as we've talked about, glowing. Our lead reporter, George Geddes, loves him. Everyone thinks he can be the next big thing in North American Valorant. So right now, right here, Zekken, we're going to force Zekken to watch this. Deph, can you give, if there was, from your chock full experience, your years and years, decades worth of playing professionally, what would be the number one advice you would give to this young man, the 16-year-old, just at the beginning of his esports journey? What's the number one rule of advice you would give him?
I think it would be don't take it too seriously. I got a chance to play with Obo in CS on complexity, so I also have some experience with working with the really young players, and it's always the same. Just make them feel really comfortable. Lots of praise, even in the moments that. Like when we go to do review, I feel like some teams are really hyper focused on which mistakes this player made, how can we fix it? And I think like the way we approach review is much more about confidence building and communication. And we're kind of just feeding this to zekken every day. Like we making sure that he has a great environment to learn from. But he seems hyper intelligent already. I don't know if you've spoken to this guy. He's 16-year-old. He sounds like he's 20. So he's honestly super intelligent for his age. We can tell he's going to go a long way.
So the opposite
but
of
my
Bosa.
advice to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Bosa was always going to make it. He always wanted it. I love Bosa so much. He always wanted it. I could tell, and I'm really happy to see Bosa succeeding too.
Oh well, this is making me sad that you're not EU. Just come to EU, please. We
It's fine.
Any team,
Maybe
you
when I'm
name it.
Yinsu.
I will get Fnatic to kick Bosa for you.
Yinsu. I have to say, Yinsu, he's not coming home.
Oh, it's
No,
okay.
it's not coming home.
home.
On that note, thank you very much, Deb, for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you. Up until that last comment, Tyler, I was really enjoying your company. But thank you, Tyler, as well. Drop us a like if you guys have enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys.